Welcome back. Let's see if we can get this slideshow lined up. There it is. So our second slideshow for this unit is about the respiration system. Put my teeth back in. Okay, so respiration is all about exchanging gases. And obviously the two main gases we talk about are oxygen and carbon dioxide. So gas exchange occurs by oxygen and carbon dioxide moving from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration. So for us, that's what diffusion is, the movement from high concentration to low concentration. So for humans, we have oxygen that diffuses into our bloodstream and the carbon dioxide diffuses out. So when I breathe in, I'm bringing in, well, lots of nitrogen, but some oxygen. And when I breathe out, all that nitrogen goes out again because I don't use that. And now carbon dioxide comes out. For plants, they're a bit more complex. So I'll do a little bit of plant work as well, just to let you know about that too at the end. But plants have a little more complex system. So why oxygen and carbon dioxide? Well, we need both. So as what we call a heterotroph, an organism which needs to consume other living things to get the energy and materials we need, the energy I require is bound up in this thing called glucose. And so to get the energy out of the glucose, I need to burn it in oxygen. So what we call that a combustion reaction within our body. We oxidize the glucose, and that allows the energy to come out. So I need to breathe in oxygen for that purpose. But by doing it, I create carbon dioxide, which is no good for my body. So I've got to breathe that out. Plants work the other way around, of course. Plants breathe carbon dioxide in and use that with water to make the glucose in the first place. And the byproduct of that process is oxygen. They breathe the oxygen out. But we'll come back to that at some stage. So in animals, we need big surface areas, big surfaces for this exchange to take place. Diffusion sort of works just at its own pace. It's free. Diffusion moves because it just does. So anything in high concentration will always move to areas of low concentration. So it doesn't cost you anything in that sense as an organism. But you need a nice big surface for it. And the surface needs to be wet for that diffusion to work better. So of course this gill structure here in the picture is all very nice for a fish because that's sitting in the water. And they clearly can diffuse quite easily. So gases are dissolved into the water and they change their oxygen and carbon dioxide with the water moving across the gill. Having come out to live on land, it got a bit more tricky. So our lungs are essentially a wet environment inside our bodies for this gas exchange to take place. But we need to suck the air in and blow it out again because it's not going to cross by itself. So there we go. Now, big mammal here. We've got breathe in, nose and mouth. Should nose breathe because it cleans the air that comes in. So the nose drags the air in, filters a lot of rubbish out, or some of the rubbish out, comes down here to the trachea and the bronchi, into the tubes that lead out to what we call alveoli. And the alveoli are these little spaces where the gas exchange takes place. And my head's in the way again, so I'll get my head out of the way. So here's an alveoli, and the alveoli is wrapped in blood tissue. So the blood comes past the alveoli, and the oxygen here comes out to the blood, and the carbon dioxide in the blood comes back into the alveoli, and we breathe out. Works beautifully. Nice little way of exchanging gases. Oops, why is that not moving? Doesn't want to move. Here's my next slide. So in animals, we need ways then of getting that oxygen and carbon dioxide around. So our red blood cells, these are red blood cells here, a little bit donut-like because they don't have a nucleus. Because that allows them to squeeze into tight spaces. But they have a product on the surface called hemoglobin, and hemoglobin contains iron. The iron combines with the oxygen and the carbon dioxide, so we can quickly exchange carbon dioxide for oxygen, and then go back to going around the body. And as it goes past cells, it releases the oxygen to cells and takes away the carbon dioxide for them, and with that carbon dioxide back to the lungs. Plants are a little bit tricky. Plants actually breathe through their roots, so they bring gases up from the root with their water from the root system, but they do exchange gas through their leaves as well. So CO2 can come into the leaf, water vapor leaves the leaf, and these little holes, the hole's called a stomata, and it's controlled by a couple of guard cells either side. So plants can actually close and open those stomata when they need to. So they're constantly exchanging gases through their leaf, but also taking gases up through their root system. So they're a bit tricky in those. And of course, if you create oxygen from photosynthesis, having combined carbon dioxide and water to make glucose, then the oxygen you need to break down the carbon dioxide, break down the glucose to release the energy again, you've already got on site. So plants can do with a lot less gas exchange than we need, mainly because they're making the gases themselves. Plants don't make glucose for you and I. They make it for themselves, of course, because they need the energy too. So the whole thing's about energy transfer. Light energy becomes chemical stored energy in the form of glucose, and then glucose gets broken down to make adenosine triphosphate, ATP, which the plant or animal uses to do stuff that it needs to do. And there's a lovely picture of a stomata. So this is a guard cell. I think there's a guard cell one side, and the guard cell on the other side, and the pore is called a stomata, full of chloroplasts because it needs lots of energy for opening and closing when it needs to. And they basically just open and close, or open and close, depending on whether the plant needs to conserve water or not. If there's not enough water coming in, they'll close their stomata so that they don't lose more water. If there's plenty of water around, then they'll leave their stomata open. So Australian plants, obviously living in a dry place, tend to be better adapted for that. And that should about do it, I think. It does.